Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Tonight I'm taking a look at the X-Men Legends Cyclops and Colossus, or well, Marvel's Cyclops and Marvel's Colossus. Pretty soon we'll be having to put Marvels in front of everything. The Marvels, Marvel Legends, Marvel's X-Men series, Marvel's Cyclops, and Marvel's Colossus. But I decided to pair these two together because they're longtime X-Men. They've spent a lot of time in the group. I already did Dazzler and Shatterstar. I paired those together because of the mother and son relationship. And that leaves Sunfire and Polaris for last. I'll get to those sometime this week. They're more outlying X-Men. Part of the team at some point here and there, but not really mainstay X-Men characters. But these are the two I was originally least excited about. The Jim Lee era of X-Men, not my favorite. I was graduating high school, I was getting into Wine, Women, and Song, and I just lost touch with comic books. I had to become adult, which didn't last long. I was back to comic books later in the 90s. And then Colossus is in a later Astonishing X-Men uniform. I'm not familiar with it, and just looking at it, I thought it was kind of ugly. Then I changed my mind about both of them. The Cyclops, when I saw it in figure form, I got excited about it. It just looks great. So pair that with the excellent Jim Lee Rogue we got last series, and even though I don't care too much about the Jim Lee era, I want to finish the gold and blue teams. It's the power of a good toy. And then with Colossus, I still think this costume is ugly. I think in the comics it has all kinds of seam lines all over it and ridges and that kind of stuff. But the bearded head sold me, and we didn't know about that until we finally got carded promotional shots. We didn't see that at San Diego last year. So even though I've never read a comic book with him sporting this costume or having a beard like that, the look won me over. The packaging, standard Legends boxes, easy to get open. Again, I love the art they chose for the sides. On the back, the pretty pictures, the bios, the wanted poster style teases for the other figures in the line. Same pictures on the other side. Enough about them in the package. I'm gonna get these open and see what they're like. And there we go, all out of the package. And I have to say, Colossus kind of surprised me. I kind of like him. Cyclops, he has a few issues. But looking at the sculpt on Colossus, I believe this is a new body. I don't think we've seen it, but it's a huge body. It's heavy. It's thick. If I didn't know any better, I would think it was a Build-A-Figure, but it's not. It came single. What kind of weird. I like the blockiness of the torso. It's not V-shaped. It's just thick, up and down. Now we get the sculpted arms with the lines in it, the classic Colossus look. Same with the hands. He's got the lines, the kind of tendon-looking things up to the knuckles. Just a nice sculpt on the hands. And even the parts that make this the modern costume, the gauntlets, the boots, nice sculpting on those too. Little lines, edges. As far as the paint detail goes, there's a little bleeding on the legs. The line between the red and the yellow's not quite as clean as I would like, but overall, it's a really nice paint job. The X on the chest is nice. The metallic look to the arms and head, very, very nice. I like the glossy look over the kind of dirty silver. That works for me. And then the hair, it's kind of a gunmetal. And as I was talking about on the paint, that's my biggest gripe right there, is that fuzzy line. But other than that, everything else is fairly clean. It may be a little bit gunky here and here, like they tried to do a wash to it, but it just looks dirty. It doesn't look out of line. The paint really is nice. Now my other gripe here is the head. Not so much the head sculpt, but where it sits on the body. It seems really high. Like his chin should be somewhere closer to his shoulders. He's a bulky guy. The neck seems too long. But I love the sculpt on this head. It's very classic Colossus, and if it wasn't for this body being painted this way, I'd be good with this as a classic Colossus. And really, I feel like this could be converted some way with the shoulder pads or the flares over the shoulders. A more classic gauntlet here. And then, of course, the legs. I want this body for Colossus from here on out. Another odd thing is that the hand is awfully easy to remove. The mushroom peg isn't really that thick. It's almost feels like a switchable piece. So I don't know if that was intentional or if that was an accident. Not a huge deal right there, though. And I haven't really had that problem with the other hand. But if I pull, yeah, okay. That's the first time that came out. But same thing, very small mushroom to the peg. Now it does look like the gauntlets are a separate piece because there's silver up in there, but it seems glued on there, so I'm not going to go pulling on that. Now flipping back to Cyclops, he's on the same body we've been seeing with all the Cyclopses, the Cyclopi, the Cyclopi. All the past Scotts we've seen. It's the Bucky Cat body, the Black Panther body, and I'm okay with it. It just seems a little small for Scott for me. I know they used to call him slim, but I always pictured him kind of tall. So I'd like this thinness to it, but a little bit taller, just a little bit. And I don't have the new Spider-Man 2099 body, but I'm curious to see if that'll make a good Cyclops body. If you go back to my Spider-Man UK review, I see it as kind of a Cyclops body, but newer, a thicker version. And really it was around Jim Lee that he got a little bit broader, a little bit thicker. But coming back to here, the sculpt on the head, very great. I was never a huge fan of the hair sticking out the top of the costume, but it's kind of iconic at this point. I hate to say classic because I was graduating high school at that point, but I guess you could say classic. That's just me not wanting to feel old, I guess. And then the straps, the bandolier, the belt, around the thighs, around the top of the boots, around the wrists. Nice sculpts here, but they are the cause of my discouragement with this figure. Pick it up, it's fine. The first thing you're going to notice when you start messing with it, though, is these aren't glued on. And the more you mess with the figure, yeah, I had them pushed up really, really tight, and they seem to stay there. But the more you mess with the figure, the more they're going to fall. The thighs are pretty good, but they want to fall down too if you get too crazy with it. They're a pain in the ass. You just have to find that sweet spot for them to stick around the thigh, and then push the boot up until it sticks. But some glue is needed. The wrists, they do twist, but they're not going up because the forearm is bigger than the sculpt for the strap there. Not a big deal there. And then the chest bandolier. It almost seems that this was made for a bigger figure, which works in my favor because, as I said, I want to try this on kind of a bigger figure. So if I take the head, the straps, here, and try it on a bigger body, it's completely doable because of nothing being glued down. But if you want to keep this body, and I would show this on camera if I wanted to do it to mine, but you could probably just glue all this in place. That way it's not going to move around on you, it's not going to fall down, it's not going to get discouraging, like I said. The belt and the strap, if you put the belt in the right place, kind of at the top of the trunks, you have a lot of gap here. There's a lot of space. That could probably be cut and re-glued to make it smaller, to make it fit better, heat it up or something, because I don't want to drop it down. If you drop it down to the shoulders, the belt hangs way too low. And since this is just a reuse body, I've gone over this in an older video. I'm going to skip the articulation on Scott. But I will say, because the head's a new sculpt, they did get the hole a little bit big enough to get some side to side, get some up, get some down, and then of course you have swivel. But Colossus being a new body, I'm going to go over the articulation on him. Now there's a ball on a hinge at the top of the neck. You get side to side, and this head that came on it seems a little loose. You get great up, you get great down, you get swivel. Hinge and swivel at the shoulder, hinges up, then it swivels around. Got a swivel at the bicep, got a single elbow, and the gauntlets get in the way, so it doesn't quite get up to 90. Now on mine, the left elbow is really tight, but again, it doesn't get up to 90. And then, yeah, either the detents are huge there, or it's kind of paint stuck. You have rotation at the wrist, and then hinge. You can't really use hinge out because of the gauntlet there. You have a hinge in the torso, gets forward pretty damn good. Arcs back, and you don't really get a gap. You still see abs as you pull back. Got a swivel at the waist. Got a hinge and swivel in the hip. Doesn't get out much. We've been seeing a lot of that from Hasbro lately, but it goes about 45 and that's it. Forward, really good. Back, just a little bit. Got a swivel at the thigh. Double knee, comes back pretty good for a big guy, a thick guy. Really well hidden swivel under the boot cuff. Hinge at the ankle, you get back about that far. You get forward about there. And then forward facing pin for rocker. Now for accessories, Cyclops comes with zilch. Nothing. Nada. I kind of wish he came with an interchangeable left hand so you can get two fists, or an open hand, or he came with some kind of blast accessory. We've been waiting for that too, something that'll plug into the front of it. There's a slot there, just make it a little bit deeper, and yeah, kind of a thin little blast that shoots out or something, anything. But for Colossus, he comes with this bearded head. And like I said at the first, this is what sold me for this figure. It kind of differentiates him from the classic look in my brain, so I'm okay with this modern costume hanging out on the shelf until we get a good classic one. But I love the sculpt on this. The kind of fly-up hair in the front, the beard itself. I'm a beard guy. I'm good with this. Again, it's gunmetal for the hair. I love this thing. And his head pops off pretty easy. I got the big ball at the top, and then the bearded head pops right on. This is how this figure is going to stay. Now, does the bearded head fit this costume? I don't know. I'm behind on modern comics, so in my mind, not knowing any better, yeah, I like this. Everything looks better with a beard. I'm not saying that from a biased point of view whatsoever. Now here they are with the Hasbro Jean Grey. I'm going to talk really fast because it's going to fall down before I even got to it. She really got the short end of the stick when it comes to base bodies. I hate this figure. If you use this body, yeah, it goes good with the Cyclops. Sticking with the Jim Lee for a second, the Rogue we got last year, great figure. I love this figure. Works great with this Cyclops. Here they are with Hasbro's Marvel Legends Kitty Pryde. People say that this Kitty Pryde's a little bit tall. I'm good with her as an adult, but again, Cyclops needs to be a little bit bigger. And then finally, here they are with the Marvel Select Colossus. A lot of people use this Colossus on their Legends display. I don't. It feels big, and it is big. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. We all have our different preferences, but to me, the Select is too big. This new Colossus is just the right size. So at the end of the day, I dig on this Colossus. And I'm good with the Jim Lee Cyclops. I really am. It's just my own personal preference. I'm curious more than anything. I'd like to see what he looks like bigger. And I know I've said that several times and you're sick of hearing it. You're just like, shut the hell up, Robo. Just do it or get the hell off camera. And I will at some point when I find some free time, you know, sometime within the next 2 or 3 years. And to throw this out there, the Colossus, for being such a big guy, balances beautifully. I didn't even have to try that hard to get him into any of these running poses. You put one foot down, you kind of balance it around, and that's what it's all about. Where the hell am I going with this? The Colossus isn't good enough to make me want a bunch of those costumes from that later Astonishing run with this costume. I kind of remember some of the other costumes, a little bit gaudy for my tastes. Cyclops, on the other hand, he makes me want more Jim Lee X-Men. And that's weird. If you've ever talked to me on the forums, you know that I don't really care for that version. But I'm going to need more now. Give me a new Gambit. As much as I don't like the Jim Lee Jean Grey costume, I'd like to see that on a better body. Because really, when it comes down to it, the Hasbro one is terrible. Colossus, like I said, I'm going to display it like this, but the arms and the head and the body is a good start. Now we need some ribbed upper legs, some new boots, a couple of bands for the gauntlets, and some flares on the shoulders. And then I'm going to need an Astonishing on top of that. And then an Outback shirtless one. So basically this review is, I dig on these figures, but I want to see different ones. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.